What's going on? It's your boy Masta here live from the MMB Radio Studios for the MMB Radio Podcast, where no topic is too big or too small. We talk about them all. And on the phone lines right now is a woman who many of you may be familiar with from her online presence or her adult film work. But the one thing I can guarantee you is when you see the 12 pulling up and you look in that rearview mirror and you see this woman, it's probably going to end up being a good time for you. So I want to welcome in right now adult film star Joslyn Jane. What's going on, Josh?
Hi, how are you?
Doing awesome. So, again, like I mentioned, a lot of people know you from a lot of your I don't know what you would call them, like your skits or your different type of scenes. You know, like of the cop that goes ahead and pulls you over, and then the next thing you know, you're getting
your dick is getting
exactly.
Stuck.
It's
it'd be great if getting pulled over.
It would, like
included that treatment.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, it's not an encouragement to drive, recklessly. Like chances are she's not gonna pull you over, and you're not gonna get your dick sucked. But
yeah.
But but I guess that's when I mentioned your name and we mentioned that you were going to be on the podcast. And first off, I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to us a little bit today, because
of course, thank you for having me.
We've been planning this for a while, and like when I mentioned that we were going to have you on the podcast, people went ape shit. Like I got so many, so I'm dead ass serious. I had so many people sending me DMs. And we're like, ask her this, ask her that, and all this other stuff. And it was crazy because anybody knows, like on Instagram, like when you get DMs, like I don't know if it's for everybody, but I know it's set up this way for me. When I get a DM, it asks me if I want to accept it, delete it, or whatever from somebody that I'm not familiar with,
I wouldn't accept DMs, especially from the weirdos. Just read the comment and move on.
Well, that's what I did. The cool thing is it lets you read what they said, but you don't have to respond. So I was like, all right, cool. Let me just screenshot a bunch of these questions, because once you open that floodgate and allow them to talk to you, oh my God,
no, because then they're gonna be like, "Can you send nudes?" Like, don't. Well,
I always love to type when they make a comment, or I'll post a photo of you, or you're gonna be on the podcast, and they're like, "Oh, you're so hot," and I'm like, "Well, thank you," but it's actually Joslyn's gonna be on the podcast. Like, people do not even realize like who posted the post. They just see the photo and they're like, "Oh, I want to fucking suck on your titties," and I'm like, really? Like, I don't know if my moobs are, ready for all that kind of treatment. But, I appreciate that, dude. Like, thanks for listening. And they're like, "Oh, I thought this was Jocelyn." And I'm like, no, reading is fundamental, people, but, but it's cool that we got you on, and there's a lot of questions I want to ask you, and from questions from fans. So I guess first things first, as I always ask my guests, is like, how did you get started in the business? Because I always am intrigued about how people like accidentally got into it. Some people actually like strategized and planned it that they were going to do this. Like, how did you come about doing this?
So basically I was an extra a few times in a few movies, and I basically looked at porn as a stepping stone to really do whatever I wanted to do later in life. But I think it gives you a platform. If you're smart and you use it correctly, it can give you a platform to really do whatever you want with it. I mean, you have Lisa Ann, you have other people who have left the porn world and are now big YouTube stars and things like that. So I really looked at it as a stepping stone as far as that is concerned. And then I basically just walked in to the Bang Bros studio and they took pictures of me. There's no casting couch involved. Casting couch isn't real. I know y'all know that, but I just want to reiterate it.
But are the buses real, like the van?
Of course they're not real.
See, that's the disappointment when I went to Miami. My first trip to Miami, I walked around on South Beach, and I was highly disappointed. All I saw was, like, spray-tanned senior citizens And I'm like, this is like some gilf scenes right now about to go down. Like there was grandmas on the beach. I'm like, where are the hot chicks getting washed off under little showers, in the marked up bus just driving around, But that didn't happen.
Yeah. I've been in that bus, and it smells
I'm sure it does.
real bad.
Yeah, it's like a bad
Smells like sweat and shame.
yeah, it's like a bad experience at Chipotle. Like really, So it was as simple as that. It's just walking into Bang Bros. I mean, I obviously, looking the way you look, hot girl walks into Bang Bros. I mean, it's just like that's like dumb's luck for like, Bang Bros and these companies that they're just like, wow, they just kind of came to us.
So they basically, I was done with the pictures, and because remember when I started, I was 26, and in porn, there's not really. I'm a MILF technically, but there wasn't really a place for me at 26. I wasn't a teeny bopper, and I wasn't really technically yet a MILF. So they said, pull your hair back, and I pulled my hair back, and they said, you're our other cop. And I said, what are you talking about? And that's basically how it started.
And then you joined the police academy. And then, but I mean, it's crazy is that like, so people kind of know you from those scenes. So my question for you would be then is like, is that something that you're kind of disappointed that like you kind of like, in I hate to say real world of acting, because I mean porn is still, acting to a sense, but kind of being typecast as like that character, I'm sure most people know you from that.
I'm not really. I'm sort of typecast as like the mean. Like nobody really wants to see me as like docile but that's not really my personality anyway. So it's yes and no. Like it does. I mean, everybody knows who I am, so I can't sit here and complain. Not everybody, but a lot of people know who I am because of those roles. So it was sort of like it helped in a lot of ways because it gave me name recognition a lot more quickly than a lot of other girls. And the other thing is too is that the number of memes that I have. When you talk about girls in porn, and you talk about like, are you, I remember I met someone once and they said, I don't think you understand like how mainstream you are. And I was like, what do you mean by mainstream? And he was like, well, I mean, they talked about you on the Joe Rogan podcast. They've talked about me on podcasts before. I'm not sure which exact ones. And there's about 10 memes of me that you can find on Facebook. So it kind of took on a life of its own. And then I just basically took that character and ran with it. So I would say no, because I really enjoyed the character. And remember, it's a character that you play, so it does show a lot of people that you can actually act, that you can actually play a character and not just play
someone who sucks dick.
Some bitchy
yeah, so
female.
Now, did you have any desires to want to do like a mainstream acting? Or was that like your game plan when you were doing these scenes, or did that thought process even come across your mind?
I mean, the thing is that with porn, like, you look at Sasha Grey, and she was able to break into that industry. But from what I've heard, as far as like trying to break in to mainstream things, it's definitely harder. They treat us like garbage because they don't appreciate us or see any value in us. So if you're on a set, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to doing it, but it would have to be with the right person and somebody who actually values my acting skills and doesn't just see me as, oh, well, we need, a retired porn star in this, or a porn star in the scene. Here you go. I wouldn't do that.
Now, let me ask too. So when you a lot of people, I think, may have thought of this before, but some people think about it afterwards or even during the process. When you're doing adult film, once it's done, it's done. Like there's no going back. Like it's saved, it's on the internet, it's out there for everyone to see. Did you have any regrets about, long term, like how is this going to affect whatever I do outside of this realm? Because people are going to find this stuff and people are going to, may or may not go ahead and hire you for certain gigs and certain scenes and, projects because of what you may have done in the past.
Yeah, I think it's all relative. I used to do like modeling before I got into the industry, and it's actually helped me, which is funny. People, they look at me and they're like, "Oh, I know exactly who you are. Like you're hired for anything that you want."
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, "Oh, okay." But I wasn't expecting it to go that way, let me tell you.
Mm-hmm.
But it just sort of worked out that way. So I think that, a lot of people, I think that it's whatever you make of it. I think that definitely it closes some doors, but I also think that it depends upon how you market yourself, how you look at it. If somebody looks down on you, you move on, you don't get caught up in it, you know what I mean? So you just have to kind of move on and say, okay, and, keep on pushing. But, yeah, I would say, I don't know. There are definitely going to be times probably where it will negatively affect me, but I definitely am prepared for that, and I knew it was going to happen at some point, so I'm fully prepared for the repercussions.
All right, hold on.
Can't be a cop.
No, you definitely are, but I'm sure there are cops out there that are, very familiar with your scenes,
It's funny because every time I walk by cops, they do a double take. A lot of them do.
I always laugh when other adult film stars that I'm friendly with, they always say when people come up, they're like, "You look so familiar," and they love saying, "Do you watch porn?" And they're like, or they know right away who they're dealing with.
Yeah. No, it's funny. I don't. I've been doing this for a little over 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And, we all know Sarah J. And, Sarah gets approached, bless her soul, about 6 to 8 times a day, probably. And I'm not there yet. But what I've started to get is DMs or comments when I'm at a game saying, "Oh, I saw you last night, but I didn't say hi."
Mm-hmm.
Or, emails saying, "Oh, was this you? I could have sworn this was you. Like, I need to know if this is you."
Well, you know what it is because it can be embarrassing if you're wrong, Like, again, I guess people are afraid to, like, well, how do you...
Because here's the thing. Like, honestly, I like to fuck with people. Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I don't like to fuck with people. I love to fuck with people.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm on webcam sometimes, people ask me if I'm a real cop, and I'll say, yeah.
And people believe
yeah,
you,
I'm a
which
real
is the
cop.
funny
Yeah,
thing.
of course. Of course. And everybody's sitting in the room like, I can't believe he believes you right now. But if you're silly enough to ask that question, you're going to get a silly response. So, for me, if someone came up to me, it depends upon my mood, but if someone were to come up to me and say, "Hey, are you that person?" I'd be like, "I have no idea what you're talking about." Or I would say, "I'm sorry, I don't speak English," in plain English, because trying to get the message across that, hey, I really don't want to be bothered right now.
I play the deaf role. So when people are like, I don't want to bother with somebody I don't know or approaches me with something, I do all the, like, I point to my ear, like, I don't, I'm deaf, So
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and they just leave you alone because they think, oh, he can't hear what I'm saying, And
I also think that a lot of people, because of the character that I played, Officer Jane,
mm-hmm.
she's not a very nice person, and I think that a lot of people are intimidated by me. And they're honestly too afraid to come up to me and say something.
But the reward,
I no,
the reward is so much better.
yeah. Um, so it's like it's funny because like I can look in people's faces and I can tell they know they recognize me or they've seen me somewhere, but they just don't want to come up to me and say something because they're terrified.
So,
Which is, you know.
now, aside from that, like, is there scenes that you want to do? That you envision.
I would love to do some superhero cosplay. I've done it before, but I'd love to do it for like major companies. I've only really shot for Bang Bros. I've never shot for anybody else like Brazzers or Reality King or anything like that. Um, I would love to do more, girl, but that's, you know, those scenes are usually few and far between.
Hmm.
Um,
Now, who's someone that you would like to
but
work
yeah,
with,
or
though?
maybe a parody too. That would be fun. I've never done a parody.
So if
Black Patrol was kind of a parody, but
so if you could create your own scene, a parody of something, like what would it be? Who would it be with?
I want to say a Star Wars scene probably is what I would start off with.
Okay.
Ooh, that'd be hard. Who would I? It'd have to be multi-layered. So I've never shot with. I have a huge crush on a performer. He's been around forever, but I started watching him when I was in high school. His name is Derek Pierce.
Hmm. We've had
So I
Derek
would
on the
definitely.
podcast. Yes.
You have,
Yeah, Derek
yeah.
has been on our
I love
podcast.
him. I missed him at AVN because I was shooting twice a day when I first got there,
Hmm.
and so I didn't get to go on Wednesday and meet him. And one of the owners of like the company, she was like, "You need to meet." She was like, "You're fucking Derek Pierce tonight," and I was like, "Am I?" And then I went back to my room and I was like, I really don't want to go to the convention." So I lost steam there, but yeah. So him.
And he's done some
Uh,
cosplay stuff. Like he's done different like superhero themed scenes.
Yeah. The reason why I love Derek Pierce is because I've never seen someone eat pussy in porn like he does. Literally. And people ask me, like, why are you so good at eating pussy? I'm like, Derek Pierce. Literally. He taught me how to eat pussy. Like, I can't make this shit up. Like, he's so good at it.
Well, we got to definitely make sure that we tag Derek on this podcast as streaming for everyone to listen to. So he's fully aware of
Where are the poor things gonna get a bunch of DMs out? Like, hey.
as
You
long
hit
as
up
he's probably gonna get a bunch of DMs from a bunch of dudes that are like, "Can you teach me how to eat pussy?" Which is gonna be a little weird, and I'm sure he'll be thanking me for that in a
I'm not.
sarcastic
But I
way.
mean, I have to tell you, I've never DM'd Derek in my life, and I figured it out on my own. So y'all can do it.
Just watch the footage. That's why they got pause, rewind, and fast forward, and all that stuff. So
No, you just go for it. Like there's no.
it's the like all you can eat Chinese buffet.
Yeah, like
Just
that's.
go
I
all in
mean,
for it.
people ask me like, how did you learn how to suck dick like that? And I'm like, porn. Like, what do you think? Like, like it's not just for entertainment. Like, if you
It's a
really want
learning
to learn
tool.
something from porn, you can learn it. You just have to be
Well,
focused.
it's funny you say that because I've had people in the past who are really passionate about how they say, what happens in the porn world and what happens on a set and what happens in a scene is not real life. And they get upset when, I guess, people try to mimic, what they see in a scene. It's like, there's disappointments. Like I said, I walked around South
Oh no,
Beach.
I suck dick like that in real life.
Oh, okay.
So
All right.
that's
Well,
the
as long as
thing.
you're consistent.
Yeah,
So one of the things I always like
I'm on
asking,
brand. I love to be on brand. That's one of my
well,
things.
and you have to, you have to. It's that business mindset. Um,
It's funny because I've actually gotten yelled at before because people are like, you really don't have to like go for that hard of a blowjob. You don't need to gag and like fuck up your makeup and make yourself cry. And I'm like, but I mean, if your makeup isn't fucked up from a blowjob, did you really give a good blowjob? And they're like, you know what, just keep going.
It's like working out.
Right.
If you didn't break a sweat, if you're not sweating, you ain't working hard enough. You know, if you ain't fuck up the
Yeah,
makeup,
you
you
know
ain't
what I mean?
sucking
Like,
hard
come
enough.
on, just let me do my thing.
So
Yeah.
So one of the things
So,
I always like to ask too is to the guests is like, so their upbringing. I'm always intrigued about, like what life was for you when you were younger. A lot of these, I've had guests in the past that are very prude, and it wasn't until they got into the porn industry that they were, awoken, and became, this free spirited person. And then there's other people who just had, that desire as a younger person. So
so
how was your life like growing up?
I had like D tips when I was 12.
Okay.
So I've gotten a lot of attention from men ever since I was, underage. Unfortunately, it is what it is. You're probably gonna have to cut this out, but
Yeah, we're not promoting any child pornography or anything.
yeah. So I started experimenting when I was like 14, 15. And I had an older brother, so like I found his Playboys, and I would look at them and
Now you're looking at Playboys with girls. Were you intrigued by the girls or?
Yeah, I was like, they're so pretty, they're so sexy. How do I look like that? Stuff like that.
Okay, so then we fast forward, I guess, like into the high school years. When you're meeting guys that are
Yeah.
your age in high school. Like, what was your high school life like?
So I moved from Miami to New York after my freshman year of high school. So I went to an all-girl Catholic high school, actually.
So stereotypical, right?
Yeah. And it's funny because people ask me all the time, they're like, oh, is that why you like girls? And I'm like, honestly, I didn't start experimenting with girls until I was in college and like, and in my late teens, because a lot of the girls, I talk about this with my friends all the time, and they don't really seem to understand it. But when I went to that school for the first day, I've literally never had my tits groped and grabbed as much as they were during that period, during that day. And I think it's because, girls feel more comfortable with each other, blah, 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 all that stuff. But as soon as somebody was like, oh, she's gay, they avoided the girl like the plague. So I was always interested in girls, and I always thought girls were prettier and had more beautiful bodies than men, but I never really ventured into women until I was older.
So going to an all-girl high school, I mean, did you have boyfriends? How much interaction did you have with guys your age?
A lot. We had brothers' schools. And then we would just like recycle the same like 50 boys. So we all kind of were, it was like a little incestuous. It was kind of like a mini porn. We all kind of sleep with like the same 100 people, you know what I mean? So we would just kind of recycle guys, but I definitely met, not even high school guys. I always was attracted older men, so not like significantly older, but 19, 18. So
at what age did you lose your virginity?
I think I was 14.
Okay. And it was with an older guy, 18, 19 years old?
No, he was the same age as me.
Oh, okay.
He had an older brother who was like a star football player, and they would always have girls over at the house. Their stepmother was a playmate. And they just like, there were just always girls around. So, he could have been lying too, looking back, 2020, hindsight's always 2020, but he wasn't that good. So maybe he was lying. I don't know.
Well, it's, and it's crazy that you say that, because a lot of people always say, the first time, like, you never know what to expect. You have like an expectation, but then it never ends up panning out the way it's supposed to be. So the first is always kind of like the the trial run. So what about his
Yeah,
brother?
well,
Like,
I was different than most girls. Like, I wanted to just get it over with and be done with it because I was like, this way I can just start getting better. That's
it's
sort of
kind
how
of
I
a good
looked at
mindset,
it.
you know. You kind of like, you can almost apply that to almost anything, you know. It's like, I want to take my driver's test so I could be a better driver, you know, like so I can go out on the highway, you know. So I mean, not a good experience with the first guy, but you did say his brother was a star football player, so like, you know, did he ever get some of that too, or
No.
so he never kept it in the family?
No.
No, was that because of the bad experience with him? You just kind of figured like it's, you know, a bad DNA family
Well,
line?
he was, yeah, he was just, I think his brother at that point was like already away. It wasn't like he was, around a lot. Maybe he played for UM. I can't even remember anymore. So it was like, he just, went back and did his own thing, and I think it's, it's funny. I think about it now about all of the guys that I've slept with. And I always think to myself, they must be, if they ever run into me, they must not know what to think.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of like mind-boggling when you're like, damn, like I was her first and it was such a horrible experience, and like, gee, she really took it to heart and really, perfected her craft where, but then it's cool bragging rights, like, I hooked up with a porn star before she was a porn star.
I wonder how many people say that.
It is something that intriguing to wonder, like, is that something like you admit to, or is that something you don't?
I feel like it's definitely something you admit to if the girl's a star, for sure.
Yeah. And I guess it depends on the comfort level of who you're speaking with. Like, obviously you don't meet somebody on, Match.com and the first conversation you have on their first date is, oh, Joslyn Jane, you know her? Google her. Like, I banged her out in high school, Chances are you're not going to get a second date.
Yeah, for sure.
So I want to field some of these questions because some of these are questions that I get asked all the time for guests, and then some of these were some really good ones that like never been asked before to any of my guests. So you ready to answer some of these hardcore, and some of them are titled hardcore questions. So
okay.
First one, a guy and I don't want to mention people's names because again, I don't know how many of these people are, being discreet about listening in. So we'll keep the usernames going. I should note that next time. Do you want us to say your username or not? Because I don't want someone to accidentally hear your username and then, it gets back to a girlfriend or boyfriend or, some kind of significant other. But anyway, guy wants to know, first question is, in your lifetime, can you name how many guys that you've slept with?
Ooh.
Again, I know.
Name all of them?
Not by names. We don't want full governments and social security numbers. We like roughly number wise. I think was what he was kind of getting at.
Ooh.
Do people keep count? Like, do people have like a notebook or something that they note this stuff?
Real G's don't.
It could be a ballpark figure. We're not looking for exacts.
Yeah, I want to say maybe like 250, 300.
Okay. And how many of these were
something around there?
Was this,
you have to remember, I stopped shooting boy-girl in the industry for 2 years. So there were 2 years where I didn't sleep with any men.
So this could have been
but
a lot
I guess
larger.
Women are too. That counts women too, right? Yeah.
Okay, so 250 men and women.
Okay, no, well, because I forgot about the women, so 500.
Okay. So equally about half and half.
Yeah.
So like when you stop and you think about that, 500 different people.
Yeah.
Like, did you ever do you ever think about that, or you just kind of just like you said, just kind of just roll with it and not even realize it?
I just thought about it now.
Yeah. When you stop and you think, how many people is 500 people? Like.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And that was 2 years of you not shooting boy-girl.
Yeah, but I mean, I shot with a lot of girls, so.
Okay. was gonna say because like on average, like I don't know how many is an average for you per year, but like if you had girls and then you added boy girl, so I mean wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so there you have it. Roughly about 500 people. That could fit a little small arena. Um,
Yeah, I feel like that's significantly lower than many girls.
oh, I'm sure. I mean, and then, but now is this 500 people including like real life, or is this just like in the business?
Oh, if we're talking about, well, it's different. If we're talking about industry people only,
Hmm. So
probably
it's
like 100.
okay. So 400 of just regular people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even that's something to stop and kind of pause and think about. Like 400 regular people. Like not people that are.
Yeah, I know. I wonder what they all think of me on the internet.
You know what we'll do? Something really cool. And I mean, there's no way to verify it, but it would be cool if like people like commented, and like just we could just keep a tally of the people. Like I was one of the 400, but that's again
Yeah.
there's no way to verify that. Like you're gonna get people that are gonna be like, yeah, I banged her out. I was doing it I was doing it while you're on the podcast with her. Sure you were, buddy. You know. Celebrity crushes. Do you have any celebrity crushes?
Ooh, Scarlett Johansson.
Okay. 501.
What?
I said 501.
Yeah. Liev Schreiber.
Okay.
He's like a sexy dad.
Sexy dad.
He's
Like you come home from
like
school.
Yeah, he's
it's
a dope.
like
So yeah, he's just
you're coming home from school. So you want me to make you a peanut butter and jelly, or do you just want me to just eat you out? It's like what?
I want you to
Now, go ahead. Is there more to this,
who
or?
else? I'm trying to think who else. I don't know his name. Chris Evans.
Okay.
He's pretty hot. Oh, and Meg Thee Stallion. I love her so much.
Okay.
She's pretty and she's beautiful and she has a great body, but I think what attracts me the most to her is her personality.
No, I was gonna ask, like, when you're with a woman, are you more of the aggressor, or are you more of, the submissive type?
It depends upon the girl, but I'm usually the aggressor, yeah.
All right, so now, like, say someone like Megan. Like, is that... Because I kind of feel like she would be the
I don't
aggressor.
know. See, the funny thing about Megan is, like, we're pretty much the same size. She's a little bit taller than me.
Mm-hmm.
We're pretty much the same size, so she would probably be the aggressor in the situation.
I think her personality would make her that by default.
And I am one of those types of people where, like, I don't, just because someone's famous and, like, let's say I'm backstage with them or whatever, I'm not going to come up to them and grab them and try to do, I'm not that way at all. I'm very much, I'm much less aggressive in real life than I am on camera. Mm-hmm. So if if she comes up to me, I'll say something, but if she's just there and, I see her, I'm not going to go up and be like, oh, I'm your biggest fan, because I put myself in her shoes and it must get annoying. And I never, my dad is from New York and I was raised in with this sort of mentality of like, if you see famous people on the street in New York City, you don't go up to them. That's not cool. That's not cool to do that. So I have that sort of mentality of like, it's okay, like, let them be. Mm-hmm. But I would definitely.
But if they were on the other side of the Hudson in New Jersey, is it fair game? I'm gonna try to, like, I would hate to, like, have to be put in that position because I would want a fanboy, if I saw Megan, kind of walking around.
Yeah. I think it depends. Like, I think it would be different. Like, let's say, she probably has no idea who I am. Like,
you never know.
But you're right. But if she recognized me, if she said, "Oh, I know who you are," or something like that, I would definitely be like, "Oh, okay."
Now,
I'm invited to sit with you.
Now, how often do people come up to you who recognize you, or or they?
Not ever really. Only when I'm with Sarah J, or when I'm with, like, obviously at AVN or at Exotica, everybody knows who you are because they're there to see porn stars. But for the most part, like, people, no one's really come up to me. One time, okay, so this is kind of a funny story. Not really. So my best friend, one of my best friends that I've known since I was in middle school, I was with him and his baby mama at a bar, and we'd just smoked a bunch, and we go downstairs and she's getting a drink, and the bartender comes over. He goes, "Do you want anything?" And I go, "No." He goes, "Water?" I go, "No, I'm okay." So she goes to pay, and he goes, "How do you know that guy and that girl?" And she goes, "What do you mean?" He goes, "That girl is a porn star." Points at me. She goes, "No way." And at this point, they didn't know.
So these are friends of yours, and they did not know that you were doing this?
No, so they have a kid. And I was afraid that because they have a kid, they wouldn't want me to be around the kid anymore. I don't know why I thought that.
Okay.
And so I didn't tell them. And when I was in the height, of Black Patrol and Officer Jane and everything, he had just had the kid, so I hadn't talked to him in a while. So I just sort of, like, brushed it over, and then at that point I was only doing girl, so I didn't think that, like, anybody would notice or anybody really cared. And then that whole thing started, and then I had to basically come clean and say, "Yeah, no, I'm this person."
And how did they take that? I mean, are you allowed to see the child still?
They were like,
"Stay the fuck away from our kid."
Yeah, they were like, "We love you regardless." They were like, we don't judge you for anything that you do. And they were like, at least it's legal and safe and all those sorts of things. So they were really,
You just can't be our nanny.
positive about it. Yeah. Now, when past people in your life, especially guys that you used to be with, find out who you are, that's a whole nother issue, in my opinion. Because, you get people who you haven't talked to in 6-7 years message you and say, "Hey, I'd love to hang out with you sometimes." And I'm just like, "No, I'm good, thanks."
And the only reason is because they now know what you do.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not a fucking idiot.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of obvious. Like, I haven't spoken to you in 6 or 7 years. Out of the blue, you want to start fucking hanging out.
Yeah, and X did that to me. Started emailing me all the time, and then, like, sprung that on me in a conversation, and I was like, "Nope, still hate you. You're still a toxic piece of shit, but congratulations."
It's because of you that I do this shit now. That would be fucked up,
No, and then, what he asked me? He was like, "If I was ever in a porn, would you watch?" And I didn't respond.
Well, that's funny that you say that, because that's one of our questions here. Is people want to know, like, do you watch your own scenes?
I do, to get better and to learn and to improve.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they're really hot, and I do like watching them, but those Black Patrol scenes were so difficult. You're talking 8-12 hours in the hot sun in Miami, and it was a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot. So I really don't like watching those scenes a lot, because it brings me back to a very hard time. I'm not talking badly about it. It was, especially for somebody who was brand new. I mean, it was grueling. And when people say, "I don't know why you're famous," or "I don't know why you're this," or "I don't know why you're that," and I'm like, I earned every fucking right.
Like, I sweat my ass off.
I earned my stripes in those scenes. I don't give a fuck what you think. Like,
no,
it was hard work.
One guy wants to know, like, what are your favorite scenes to shoot? Obviously, now saying that, those were hot, and, but that kind of, like, gave you that branding of who you are. What were your favorite types of scenes to shoot that you were just like, yes, I can't wait to do this?
Um, I really like to do like creative things, sort of like out of the box things, or where I'm playing another character. Um,
I mean, you
I
did
do
mention you like
like,
doing the acting part, so I think, do
yeah,
you like the dialogue parts of it?
I do.
Okay.
I do, yeah.
Yeah, we've
Um,
had guests before that they don't want to do the dialogue. They're, to the Gonzo stuff. They're just kind of like, fuck it, let's just jump right into it. Um, but like, what are your thoughts on that kind of
so
stuff?
I find that a storyline sort of helps it along. I think it kind of like, why are you here? It's not that people don't watch Gonzo and Gonzo's not great, but my introduction to porn were these elaborate sets with a bunch of dialogue and a bunch of, I mean, we had to watch, like, I've probably watched every episode of Cops. And, because we would have to recreate certain things that went on, and we'd have to say certain things. And so I think I definitely like that a little bit more than the Gonzo stuff. I like the Gonzo stuff too, but the lines just make it, a little bit more interesting. So,
Now, are there scenes that you are not a fan of or would not want to partake in?
like Black Payback, like any of those sorts of scenes, um, where it's like really degrading the woman, like ghetto gaggers, any of those sorts of scenes, facial abuse. I think what really kind of drew me to porn after Black Patrol was like, in 90% of scenes, the woman is usually being degraded in some way, shape, or form, or, they're doing some sort of thing, submission, whatever. And this was different. This was the women taking power and taking control. And I really loved that concept and that idea of like, I mean, there was a scene where we were shooting and I slapped a guy. And Maggie was like, that wasn't in the script. And I was like, shut up.
It is now. Shh.
Let me do my thing.
Got caught up in the moment. I'm sorry.
And somebody was like, why did you do that? I was like, I didn't like his face. They're like, Joslyn, you can't say that.
I slapped him because it reminded me of the time that I got pulled over for not using a turn signal. I don't know.
Right? I was like, I don't know, just PTSD.
It felt right, I felt like it gave the scene more, that genuine feel by smacking the shit out of him.
Yeah, it felt right. You know what I mean? There's some things that I'll do where, and like, the thing is too is that we asked them like, what are you okay with? What are you not okay with? And slapping was definitely one of the questions. I can't remember specifically, but slapping had to have been spitting. It was all those.
It was cool when I was getting my dick sucked, and then she fucking smacked me out of nowhere.
And I was like, well, maybe I wouldn't smack you if you kept your fucking dick hard. How about that?
Oh, aggressiveness,
Yeah, but I mean, deserved.
Hey, be straight and 8, and don't don't get pulled over again. That shit won't happen,
Right?
So,
Yeah.
You're happy you got your dick sucked. Not all cops do that.
Yeah.
Oh goodness. One fan wants to know, dating wise, what's dating life like in the adult industry? Do you happen to have a social life, or is it kind of like that just doesn't work?
I wouldn't be opposed to dating someone. I have a few like male friends that I'm like, they know and they like protect me, and sometimes we sleep together, but like,
It's a fair trade-off.
Yeah. It's hard. It's difficult. I dated someone in the industry for 2 years, and I stopped doing boy-girl because of it. So, and I cared about him, and I still love him, but it just, it messes with you. it messes with people and all of those sorts of things. So you have to definitely take that into consideration. And then even if, I mean, I know people who have dated their performers and they date other performers and, you know, they have jealousy issues themselves. So, you know, we're not immune to it. No one is, even if we're in the industry or not. So I think that I would definitely be open to it. Definitely not open to everyone in my DMs asking me to take me out to dinner. That's not happening. But, you know, if the other thing I have to be careful of too is I dated this guy for a little bit, and I'm pretty sure he was just using me, you know, for whatever, for my clout, for whatever the hell he was trying to use me for. So I definitely am a little bit more guarded in that regard as well.
Now, have you ever had the opportunity to, I guess, like when you meet somebody and they're not familiar with what you do? I mean, clearly people see you or they know who you are or have a feeling they know who you are and they approach you. But what about these people who genuinely do not know who you are? Like, how quickly do you let them know what you do?
I lie. I lie.
All right. Now, do you feel like you're going to run into that situation like you did with the other couple, where eventually you're going to have to come clean?
No. So, like, I'll give you an example. Like, I was getting a massage, and the guy asked me, and we're talking, whatever, and he's like, you know, he's like, films ruined massages for me because, like, everybody asks me if I give a happy ending, and it's not funny, and this, and I'm like, oh shit, I should definitely not tell him I do porn because he's gonna think that I'm hitting on him. Mm-hmm. And so he said, well, what do you do? And I said, you know, I act. I started giggling.
I act.
And I act. And he was like, oh, really? And so I had to make up all this shit that, oh, yeah, I've looked at Netflix movies and this and that, but just completely lying about it.
No, but don't you think, though, that would be kind of misleading to people? I mean, if somebody's really into you...
I don't believe in boasting about it and screaming and telling people, you know, this is what I do. I don't really, I get attention, but I don't seek attention like that. I don't want to be gawked at. I don't want to be looked at. You know, I don't want to be made a spectacle of. So I don't care if they feel misled or not. I mean, how many times have they been lied to in their life? We all lie every day. I mean, I don't really give a shit.
I mean,
But, you know, that person I didn't know, but with some of my friends, you know, throughout the years, I've definitely said to them, like, listen, like, this is what I do, you know, and this is what I do now, and they're okay with it. But somebody on the street who asked me, like, what I do, like, I kill people for a living, like, leave me alone, you know what I mean? Like, why do you need to know that? And I feel like, too, when people ask me that, they're fishing, they're prying, like, they look at me and they're like, I don't know, she kind of looks, you know what I mean? I feel like they're fishing for something.
Well, what if someone, like, you're dating and it's, you know, 6 months down the line and, like, the guy, like, hasn't given any...
I mean, the guy would know.
Okay.
Before that. I would tell him before that, for sure.
Okay. Because that would be my fear, is, like, you know, you can't just assume that the guy would know who you are or what you do.
I lie to strangers, but I don't lie to people that, like, I talk to every day and see every day. I don't do that. I just, for the average Joe that I meet anywhere, you know, I make shit up.
Now, what about relationships with women? Is that something strictly you just do in the business, or, like, relationships outside of the business? Is that a thing?
I wouldn't be opposed to it, but I haven't had a woman since I started porn who's wanted a relationship with me.
Okay.
So I would be down. It's never come up.
Gotcha. Okay. What is a normal day like for you?
Um, I usually get up around, are we saying times or does it matter?
It doesn't, whatever, like, what's a normal day? Because obviously, clearly, what's normal for you is not going to be normal for a lot of people. I mean, is it something like where like a lot of people just assume because they're not into business or they're just naive or just, thick-skulled and just can't put, common sense into it. Like, obviously, you don't shoot every day, right?
Yeah, you don't shoot every day.
Okay. So, like, on days that you're not shooting, like, what do you enjoy doing?
I have to upload, clips and edit and do stuff like that. I like to go to the gym. I like to read as well. So if I have any off time or free time, I like to dive into a good book. I really like fiction a lot. Um, and am I allowed to say that I like to smoke weed?
I mean, we've, talked about, you know, smacking
Yeah.
people. We've talked about abuse, sex. I don't
Okay.
think weed is going to, be the red
Yeah.
alarm.
I like to unwind with some weed as well.
Okay.
So
Um,
yeah. Oh, and I do like documentaries too. I really do like documentaries. I just finished the Aaron Hernandez one.
now
It was insane.
what did you think about that? Because I didn't get the chance to watch it, but I did watch the first one. Was the first one? It was like on FX, and now they got the new one now that's on Netflix. Um, and there's so much uproar. And before you get into your answer, I just want to say that I agree.
I think, you want my personal
Well,
opinion?
I agree with a lot of people who say that it's not fair to talk about somebody who can't defend themselves.
First of all, yes, I agree with that. And I think that I was watching with a friend of mine, and he was like, this guy claims that he loved Aaron and that he was teammates with him, and then he's talking bad about him when he's dead. Like, that's fucked up. And I agree with that. Also, I think it's kind of bullshit that in sports, women can be gay, and it's almost assumed that most women in sports are lesbians, and it's accepted and it's okay, but then men can't come out in the NFL or the NBA. They have to wait till they retire. That's a double standard. I don't there are gay men everywhere. There are gay women everywhere. I don't know why we have to have this. We have to put these beards on them and, have them act straight. You know what I mean? I think it's sad, and I think that if you look at his life, like, he had his whole life ahead of him. And I think, yes, and I agree. And also what they talk about in that documentary, I don't know if they talk about it in the first one, is there was a reporter who 2 days before he committed suicide, allegedly, because I don't know if he really did. I don't know if I believe that. Or if it was, planned, or if it was done to him to make it look like a suicide. But when that reporter got on whatever radio show it was, I can't remember the name of it, and started going in hard about, Odom caught him in, a precarious situation. Let's just put it this way. He used to be a running back, but now he's a wide receiver. Like, talking about it in very rude, lewd terms.
Mm-hmm.
That was very fucked up. And they could never prove that he had done anything with another man. They could never prove that.
What is your thoughts on that? Because everybody assumes that he was gay or, at the most bisexual.
I think that, yes, he may have been gay. He may have been bisexual. Because they talk about how he was abused sexually by another boy when he was younger. There was sexual abuse involved. And, he used to talk to his lawyer and say, well, do you believe that people are born gay or that they become gay? And I think that particular experience that he had really messed him up, as far as he may have thought, well, if no boy ever touched me, then I might not feel this way. And that's very saddening. I think that, I was lucky enough in my life. My mother was ruthless, because she came from a family with abuse. So anytime she saw a boy try to do anything to me when I was younger, that was it. He was banned from the house. So everything that I did sexually and exploring my sexuality was on my own terms. And I think that, I think he may have been gay, he may have been bisexual, but who the fuck cares?
Mm-hmm.
He was an amazing athlete, and
there's definitely a lot of questions that are unanswered, and unfortunately,
it shouldn't matter. And the sad thing is that we're never going to know.
Exactly. And then a lot of people, bring in the CTE aspect of it and say, well, he had CTE, and
if you look at, so people ask me all the time, they're like, well, why aren't you into football? And I said, honestly, I was a psych major in college, and it's hard for me to watch it. It's hard for me to hear that hitting, and to see, there is certain footage of him getting tackled, and he can barely walk, and he's still in high school at this point. He's just taking blow after blow after blow, no pun intended.
Mm-hmm.
And he, it takes a toll on your body. It messes them up, and it's hard to watch. You know what I mean? And I definitely think that the CTE, they said when they explored his brain that it's the worst that they've seen in someone that young.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
So he may have had multiple concussions in high school and just never diagnosed. And
yeah.
Again, I still stand firm to the thing
that he went to UF, and I can tell you right now, like UF, FSU, all of the schools that are kind of like in the middle of nowhere, and it's the only game in town.
Uh-huh.
Like it's a big deal, but like it's in Coral Gables, so you can do anything. You can go shopping. It's not all about, if you're not into sports, you don't have to go to games. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's other things to do at besides go to sports games. But at UF, that's the only game in town. So it's extreme, that culture is extremely, and he also said that they were getting injected with something. Some painkiller, that before every game they would inject them with painkillers before they played. So, it was sort of everyone saying, okay, yeah, no, you're fine. No, it's just, get up, scratch yourself off and keep going.
Well, definitely, it's very unfortunate. I can't claim to be a Patriots fan, and I remember watching him play and thinking how great of a player he was and everything. But like I said, I still stand firm that it's. I don't feel it's right to talk about people who are not around to defend themselves. You know what I mean? Like, these are people can say that, there's a lot of allegations.
I felt the same way about the Michael Jackson documentary, because it's like, I just don't know. He's not here. Obviously he's going to say that he didn't do it, but it's like, it's hard for me to sit here and say that it's okay, because like, I don't know Michael Jackson's side of the story. If you want my personal opinion, I think that Michael Jackson was a pedophile because he was in the Jackson 5. He was 6 years old when he joined.
Mm-hmm.
And he never fully got to develop as an adult. So I think that he always sort of, at least emotionally, he stayed a 5-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
And there are stories that girls would just go after him. That, he was so cute and so adorable, and girls would just attack him. And, that too, I'm not giving an excuse or blaming the victim, but I think that we also need to look at, what caused that. It's not just, oh, they're a bad person. You know, things have happened to them in their lives that have made them this way.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's the same that
So,
it was, recently the book that came out about Whitney Houston, and how she had a lesbian relationship at one time, and it's just like it's easy to put those allegations and rumors out there, and like you said, you ask Whitney or you ask Michael Jackson, you ask Aaron Hernandez, they're going to deny things, or at least we would think they would deny things, but it's not fair, because anybody could just throw any kind of allegation out there to sell a book or sell a documentary, and make, assumptions based off of things that may have happened in the past. They were saying he was abused as a child. Well, okay, well, I'm going to just make the assumption because everybody that was, abused as a child ends up being, fucked up in some kind of sexual way, is not accurate. So I don't know. I like documentaries and I like, hearing about people, but I hate when people make allegations and somebody's here not to defend themselves,
yeah.
So.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. I mean, we're never going to know. And that's going to remain a mystery. So,
but people will watch it, people will tune in and have their comments on it. And like I said, I haven't watched it, and I don't even know if I have a desire to want to watch it. You know what I mean? Like it's sad, that the guy passed, and it's sad that other lives were lost, because ultimately this started out as a murder case, and now it's been,
yeah.
and it's just like, okay, so who's talking about that, the people that lost life, it's like we're doing a documentary on this. It's just, I don't know, it just gets to be a little too icky for me, so I just stick with the porn podcasting. So
Yeah, I would. That's a good idea.
There you go. So you watch documentaries and like to read and everything. Music tastes. God wants to know what kind of music tastes are you into?
So I really like old school hip hop. So like Mobb Deep, Eric B. and Rakim, Wu-Tang, of course. 2 Live Crew, any of like the more old school people, Jay-Z. So I really like hip hop. But then also I grew up in Miami. So of course EDM, electronic dance music, I grew up around it, so I can't not like it.
Gotcha. I think people want to know like what music they need to be blasting in their system for you to pull them over. I don't know if it's.
Oh, okay. Yeah, definitely some Wu-Tang. Oh, some Bone Thugs too. Oh no, probably the opposite of what I would like, because I'd probably be like, oh yeah, I fuck with that.
Yeah.
The only music I really don't care for is country.
Okay.
So there's that.
So,
But some songs I do like the ones where it's like talking about, smashing the shit out of your ex-boyfriend's car. I mean, I really like those songs too.
I feel like that's the premise for almost every country song, It's.
Yeah. So, yeah. And of course I love Dolly Parton.
Mm-hmm. Bad relationships, dogs, and pickup trucks. One of those are going to be the topic of the song.
Yeah.
And if you're lucky, if you want to win a Grammy, you write a song about all 3 aspects.
Yeah.
One guy wants to know any secret talents, anything that you what are you like good at besides the obvious?
I can palm a basketball.
Can you?
Yes, I can.
I guess that's a secret
talent. I'm actually pretty good at throwing a football. I grew up with an older brother, and we used to just throw the football around the house.
Okay.
In the backyard. What else am I good at?
I said, other than the clearly obvious, like I'm sure that's what they meant when they're like, what else are you capable of doing?
I don't know. I'm pretty good at making friends.
And then telling them later what it is you do.
What?
I said, and then telling them later what it is that you do.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they know, maybe they don't.
I'm good at
But
making friends, but not necessarily telling them what I do when I befriend them.
yeah, like, why do you need to know
Yeah.
that? I usually give a fake name when I first meet someone anyway. But, like, a fun name, like, something that you would never expect.
What's the most fun name that you've ever used?
Cecilia, or, like, something very Latin, because people look at me like, what?
Oh, goodness.
Or, like, Becky, something, like, really white, you know?
Becky.
Like, stereotypical.
Becky with the good hair. Mm.
Yeah, something like that.
Um,
I told you I like to talk with people, so I like to see people's reactions to things.
if you weren't in the adult industry, what would you be doing?
Probably advertising of some kind. I was a psychology major, so
Which explains why you fuck with
uh,
people and joke with them. So it's all one. It's all
yeah,
one big mind fuck with you. I get it.
yeah, pretty much. That's my MO.
All right. So you'd be doing marketing or promotions or.
Probably like, yeah, or not even promotions, like advertising, marketing, maybe PR, something like that.
Okay. Cool. Now, what is life like in Miami? You know, Miami, a party city, um, is like do the regulars like partake in all that? I mean, it's a busy week for you this week with the Super Bowl coming up. Or is it kind of
Yeah.
like if you live there,
I
you're
mean,
used to it?
obviously I want to go to all the parties and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's normally like if this week wasn't happening, I probably wouldn't go out. I'm not like a huge going out person. I do go out, but not a lot or all the time. So it's definitely a special occasion coming up right now in Miami
So
for all of us.
you're currently sitting at 500. By the Monday after the Super Bowl, what number may we be looking at?
I don't know.
Like, is that tally number going to go up?
Probably not.
No, it's going to be a boring weekend.
I probably sleep with less people now than I did before I started in the industry. I want to tell you that too.
Do you get tired of
For
it?
sure.
Like, has it lost its interest, or do you not feel interested in it anymore, or?
Yeah, like sometimes, my friends make fun of me all the time because sometimes we go to, swinger bars,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm over here. I'm just like, I just want to watch y'all. I don't want to partake. I sit there and watch, and they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you heard me. I just want to watch. I don't want to do anything. I just want to hang out."
Now, are you the type of person that?
And they're like, come on. They're like, come on. I told them who you are. And I'm like, oh, fucking great. Cool.
No, I mean, but are you the type of person that compares or, critiques or like, I mean, 500 people, I mean, it's got to be nerve-wracking for the guy, but do you critique them in any way? Like, what is your standards?
I tell them what I want.
Okay. So communication is key.
And what I like. And then I tell them, no, don't do that, or yes, do this.
Okay. Well, at least there's communication there. Because I would feel like there would be so much pressure, like, to kind of live up to, the Derek Pierces of the world, and, all these other people that, that you've been with, and you're like, oh my God, like, how do I not come out of this, feeling it was that 14-year-old experience all over again, like it was the worst.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because, like, some people, they're really nervous when they meet me or, like, show me their dick, and they're like, is it okay?
Is it okay?
Is it satisfactory? I'm like, yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's But imagining you, like, I could definitely see you kind of just like looking it over, inspecting it, you know, looking, you're like, it needs a little work on this
like a
part.
nerd.
Yeah. Like, I could see you doing that just to be a ball buster, you know, like just looking at it and be like, you know, I think if maybe you just kind of, you know, just, you know, kind of fix this area a little bit. I mean, if it was a little bit more, you know, thicker, a little bit
Well, I mean,
longer, you know.
it's different. Like, if they ask me, like, I've had people ask me, like, do you think I should manscape? And I'm like, yeah, if you want to. I mean, you can, you know, clean some areas up here. But that's only if they ask me for my feedback.
Okay.
You know, I'm not the type of person who's just going to automatically start critiquing you. I'm a Cancer, so.
Don't ask, don't tell. You don't ask me, I'm not just going to randomly give you, you know.
Yeah, you know.
Hygiene, personal care tips, I guess.
Yeah. But if I'm shooting with someone, I'm not very shy about it, you know. You need to go wipe now. And, you know, bidet.
Oh, wipe me down. Now,
yeah, I mean, yeah.
Well, what plans do you have going forward? Like long term, short term, what can we expect from you?
So I would say short term is more porn. Hopefully with more companies.
Any specific companies that you're looking to branch out and work with?
Axel Braun. Who else? Brazzers. Reality Kings.
Okay. So and like, what about in like 5 years from now? Where do you expect to see yourself?
Hopefully with a YouTube channel. You know, something where I'm more, you know, a brand. I don't know if I necessarily want to run my own agency, but something along those lines. Yeah, something like that, or, you know, maybe it would be really cool if I could get my own podcast, but, you know, that's...
Everyone has one now. I feel like I've been doing this long enough now.
My friend, funny, because my, one of my friends and I, he was like, you know, we should do a podcast about basketball, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how much people would care about that, but
you'd be surprised. You know, I tell people when I got into podcasting that it was not something that I even envisioned. Like, I've been doing radio and interviews and essentially what you may consider a podcast before the term was even coined. And it's like everybody, like everybody podcasts now.
Oh, but then also what I would love to do is I would love to get some of my porn star friends on the podcast, because a lot of them know nothing about sports. And if you ask them, who's your favorite player? Kobe, because he's super cute. Okay, that's it.
They're just going to come up with the first name that they've ever heard of, you know.
So my friend was like, what we should do is we should get a picture of, you know, 5 of the best NBA players and line them up for her and say, okay, who do you think is the best basketball player in this lineup and why? So things like that, where, like, you know, sex stories, but also something with sports and...
Well, I know people that do podcasts, and they have them, you know, they actually do, like, videos with their podcasts, and they love to show, like, reactions to people who are not familiar with something.
Yeah, like, I would love to be on your mom's house. I would love to be on that podcast because I love the two of them together. I love Tom Segura. I love that he doesn't like that she won't eat his ass and that they publicly talk about it. I think that the two of them are fucking great.
Like I said, everybody seems to have a podcast anymore. It used to be back in the day, everybody had a blog. And if you didn't have a blog, if you weren't writing or putting your personal opinions out on something, it was like you weren't cool. And now it's like, it makes it so accessible for everybody to have a podcast now with the technology that we have, that it makes it difficult. Like, what are you doing that's separating yourself from everybody else? So it's something you really have to put a lot of thought into, because again, you could have a podcast about basketball, but there's a
Yeah, and I
billion
think
other
also
ones.
too, it's like if we combined it with like, I would love to get some like rappers on there, some hip hop people on there that I'm big fans of. I would love to just sort of play around with it and see where it goes. I mean, I'm not going to name names, but there's definitely, famous people who know who I am and, I've met. So,
Who could be one of the
the
500?
possibility is definitely there. Yeah, no, yeah, maybe.
She's like, maybe, they may have been, number
Well,
325.
and the funny thing is, too, is that every time I have sex with someone, they're like, you're so tight. And I'm like, what? Why did you expect me to be loose?
Because I was listening to the MMB Radio Podcast.
When
You
it's
said you've been
funny
500.
because when Sarah J and I did a scene like 2 years ago now, and we're going at it, and she looks at me, she goes, how old are you again? And at the time I was 27, and I go 27. She goes, your pussy's like 23. Just so you know.
I don't know, like, how
like,
is
oh,
that?
okay.
Is that a compliment, or is that like, like, how do you?
Yeah, she was like, it's not, it doesn't seem like it's been ran through. So I was like, okay.
That's a good thing, yeah.
So that number, that 500 number might be high. I really don't know. I really haven't thought about how many people I've slept with in a very long time.
Well,
So that may be an inflated number, because I really am just talking out of my ass on that one. Sorry,
and
guys.
it sounds good for podcast, so.
I'm probably going to get a bunch of DMs out. You're a fucking whore.
Yeah, and,
Can't wait. And?
does that make you not want to watch my videos? Like, my scenes?
Yeah, and your dad really likes it. That's what I would say.
Burn. So what would you want the fans to know about you that hasn't been asked? Like, it was something that you really wish people knew about you.
I'm actually a nice person. I'm a tomboy. I think that's kind of clear, though. Before I did porn, I never wore makeup, actually. Like, maybe mascara and, like, a little bit of concealer and a little bit of eyeliner. But before I did porn, I never really wore makeup, like, ever. I love all my fans so much. I love their support. I really appreciate them. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here. So I really appreciate them. I want to say something.
Okay.
So I love all you guys so much, and I really appreciate every single one of my fans, but I'm also a very, very busy person. So if you email me or if you DM me and you say that you appreciate me or you love my work, it's not that I don't see it or that I don't appreciate you or that I don't love you. It's just that I have so much going on and I have so many things on my plate that I can't respond to everyone. And I don't think it's fair to respond to one fan and not another. So don't take it personally. But if you ever catch me at a convention, definitely come up to me. And that's it.
All right. And then finally, before we, get out of here, where can people stalk you on the internet? Because there's so many social medias out there, and we never.
OfficerJane.manyvids.com is where my content is.
Okay.
I also have an OnlyFans, so it's onlyfans.com/Joslyn Jane. My Instagram is JossJane6996 because it's my fifth one. I was running out of names. And then my Twitter is at XXX Joslyn. JOSLYN.
Awesome. Well, we've had an amazing time talking to you and getting to know you a little bit and getting to know your personality. And again, if you're ever getting pulled over, you know what I mean, don't get too excited. It's.
Wait, can I tell you the story that a fan told me before I leave? I don't know if it's real.
Okay.
but it's funny. It's funny.
Go for it. Floor is yours.
So this was like my first Instagram ever.
Mm-hmm.
And so I get a message from this guy in the suburbs of Chicago. And he says, hey, I got pulled over the other night and I did a double take. And the girl looks at me and says, no, I am not Officer Jane. She's a porn star. You know, I'm a cop. You know, give me your
cock.
Your IG.
At least that's what he was hoping was going to be said.
And the funny thing is that when I was in college, you know, most of my friends are guys. And so they would send me videos and they'd be like, this girl looks just like you. And it was a porn, you know what I mean? It was a porn star. So it was really funny to me that reading this story, because this poor girl had to endure everyone in her precinct, if it's true or not. I don't know if it's true. Mm-hmm. She had to endure everyone in her precinct saying, hey, you know what? You look just like this porn star, Joslyn Jane. She's a cop too. You got to watch you. And I'm sure that she got so many comments and mentions about it that she was finally like, okay, fuck it. Let me see if this girl actually looks like me. Mm-hmm. And so he gave her his license, everything like that. And then she gave him a ticket anyway.
Well, yeah, but clearly he's lucky he didn't get more than that.
Funny. I thought it was so funny that I posted it on my Instagram, and people were like in tears, because I don't post stuff that much, but this story was just so ridiculous and so funny. I was like, I have to say something. And everybody was like, oh my God, did she suck your dick? And he's like, no, I got a ticket.
No, I got a citation, you know, like, be like, dude, you're lucky you didn't get more than that. You're lucky you didn't get handcuffed, you know.
Right? I you know, and it's funny too, because my friends and I talk about this a lot. They're like, well, if you ever get pulled over, you know, it could go really bad or it could go really well. And I'm like, yeah, it could go either way. Mm-hmm. If the cop wants to be a dick, then yeah, sure. But if the cop wants to be nice, then, you know, they might let me off. There have been stories of porn stars sucking off cops and the cops getting fired for it. So
gotta watch for those body cams.
I wouldn't do that. If I got pulled over and I got arrested, I would go to jail.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be my first time either.
Body cams turn into porn cams. You know?
Right? Yeah. You know, it's. But at the same time, you know, my friend was like, it could be a really big issue for you if they, like, mistreat you or anything, because you could go back and sue them. So he was like, they're probably not, you know, my friends were like, they're probably not going to try to do anything to you because they could potentially get into a lot of trouble.
They could. There was a story a couple years ago about some cops in New York that supposedly raped a girl. And... yeah, it could get crazy, you know. So
yeah,
just know that, you know, there's a very good chance that, you know, Joslyn is not pulling you over, you know.
Yeah, no, I'm not. If she's blonde, it's not me. Yeah. But if you see me at a convention or something like that, sometimes I do dress up in the cop uniform.
Or if you're in Miami, like the chances may have been better, but in cold ass Chicago,
no. I don't dress like a cop ever, except when I'm at a convention. So okay. That's an offense to impersonate the cop. So, you know, we did get the cops called on us a few times when we were shooting Black Patrol. So, you know, it's definitely not me.
Gotcha.
But love y'all and love your imagination and the fact that you guys still think I'm a cop. I think it's great.
Well, again, we appreciate you coming on. It was amazing talking to you. And, again, I want to see how many of these comments are going to claim to be one of the 500 and how many people are going to hit Derek up and let him know that, hey, when's the next seminar?
Yeah.
I'm definitely hitting him up after this. So I'm definitely.
I really want one of my fans to be my wingman over here and be like, hey, come on.
I can message him. I can message him and be like, hey, just a funny, podcast that I did today, and your name came up. See what happens.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because I met Phoenix Marie and I mentioned him, and she was like, anytime you're in Vegas, I got you. Like, so it's not like it hasn't been thrown out there. It's funny because it's ironic because, like, I don't really see myself as a porn star, even though I am technically. I've met a lot of girls in the industry, and I'll say, oh, is it okay if we take a picture? And they're like, why are you asking me that? And I'm like, I don't know. I just, I want consent before I do something. If you don't want to take a picture with me, that's fine. I'm not going to get mad. But, I get kind of shy and weird. So.
Well, I'm definitely going to see if I can make this happen for you, because this is, I want to be able to take credit for that. I'll be like, I made a match with two of my past guests on my podcast. This is awesome.
Yeah. Are you gonna be at Jersey next year?
Am I gonna be at Exotica in Jersey next year?
Yeah.
I don't know where I'm gonna be in a couple hours, but I would hope so.
Yeah. Okay. Then yeah, for sure. We'll definitely have to do a follow up, maybe.
Yeah. I mean,
if I have time,
I will make sure I make a a left-hand turn out of a right lane if that's gonna help me any. In the parking lot, I'm totally down.
I'm not a huge fan of road dome because you might get into an accident.
Oh. Well, I don't know. I'll put extra tint on my windows or something. There's got to be some kind of traffic violation I can violate, to get pulled over.
To get pulled over?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, if it works, you know what I mean? And be like, I know there's a cop dressed up somewhere at the convention.
Yeah, jaywalking maybe.
Hey, if that gets you to give me a citation, I will crip walk. I don't give a fuck. Like, I just whatever I got to do.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we see you at Exotica, and hopefully we have you back on the podcast again. So you're always more than welcome to come jump on and talk about the wild and crazy zaniness that is the life of you. And we appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on. Have a great day, everybody.
Take care.
This is Joslyn Jane, and you're listening to Mixmaster B on MMB